Hello, my name is Blanche McCalla. I'm a Jamaican by birth. I was born in June 1947. I came to England in 1967, but I came directly because I have two elder brothers here, and I wanted to do my training to be a nurse. At that time, I had also get a visa to come along because my parents weren't here, just my brothers. So I had the visa first, and then we applied to the hospital. Then I came straight to the hospital to do my training. When I came for the training, the hospital that I was to do the training at has just closed. From the training school was closed, and so was to sort of hang around for another 6 months until it was transferred from that health group to another health group for me to do my training. So I did my training in West Bromwich Sandwell. At first it was West Bromwich General, and then they amalgamate with the other hospital in farther part of West Bromwich in Birmingham as well, called Sandwell. So they merge afterward and they call both hospitals Sandwell General. So I was trained there. And then 1968, I was going to Bible school, and then I met my husband. I didn't have any children. I just left straight from college to come here. I have brothers and sisters in Jamaica as well as in England. It was difficult to leave, but because it was a choice that I made for my future career, I adapt to most things really. Mobile phone was not as common, or even the landline was not as common in most people's homes, but at the same time it was even less common in Jamaica. So we were able to communicate to my parents by they going to neighbors' home to listen to the phone there. And we write letters, and I support my parents financially, even though the salary that I was getting was very, very small. I was still able to support my family in Jamaica. And because it was closely to my leaving Jamaica, coming here, and me getting married, it was easier for us to support both my parents and my husband's parents and family. Because my parents, they were concerned as well. And at that time, with my engagement and everything, we were communicating much more often so that they would know what was to put in place, because they weren't going to be in the country. So we were communicating with them very, very close and asking different questions and so on. My adjustment of life in the UK was not as bad because I had two elder brothers. One of them were married and had a child. And my sister-in-law had a child, which was living at home as well, but not my brother's child. It was my brother's stepdaughter. So I have company at the house. But I also have a lot of people who was from my district back home where we worship together at church. So I come into an environment where I knew people from back home, which make things very, very easy for me to adapt to the environment. But yes, missing the family in Jamaica was a big thing. So my church family was very, very helpful. And so some of those who were church, we were schoolmates as well, and their parents had come to England before, and they joined them. So I knew of them because we were at school together, some of them in Jamaica. I was a Christian from back home. I was saved Pentecostal from I was about 12 years old and baptized. In Jamaica, I attended a Seventh-day Adventist school in Maypen Academy, and I did that for about, it's sort of a tertiary education really, because I did first and second Jamaica local before I went to that school in Maypen at the Maypen Academy, where I did more exams. But during the time I was there, my application was granted for me to come to England. So I left about 3 years in that school to come to England to do my training. I got married in 1968, and then I did my nurse training. At first, I did state enrolled nurse, which was 2 years. I wanted to start because when I came, as I said, the nursing school where I applied to, they had just closed. So the hospital that took me, I was only able to join the pupil nurse training, which was a 2-year course. And then I did that. I was married then. And then after I finished that 2 years course, my first child, I got pregnant. So I finished 1971. And my child was born 71. The first child was born 71. I have 3 children, and they were all born here. As my children grow up, they get to know more and more. When my eldest son was 18 months, my mother died at a fairly young age. She was just 55. And so I took my son back home to Jamaica for the funeral and came back. Then a year after, I got pregnant again with my second child. I also, during that period, had my husband's mother over for a holiday. Following that also, I had my dad here twice after my mother died. My dad came and spent 6 months each time with me. The relationship in Jamaica was very, very close. When my mom died, we had 2 younger children who need parental care. My sister was about 9 when my mom died. So I applied to get her here. My other sister, she was going to Josie Marty, and she was doing very well. And she was over 12. So I allowed her to stay. But I did apply for both of my 2 sisters to come and join me here because I know it would be difficult for my dad. But it didn't happen in that way. My youngest sister was 9, so I applied and I got her here. With a hard struggle, really, because we had to have so many things put in place so as to get her to come to stay with me here in England, and she's still here. But I was like a mother, really. I take over more like a motherly role with my siblings. Even though my brother who follows me, I'm 9 years older than him. And then my mother had gone on to have 5 more children after me. We lost one by death. I think she was just a year old. But we keep in touch all the time, and even now, much more so. I think I call my brothers and sisters them sort of every day. So we have a very close-knit relationship. For me, my decision to come to England was a very, very positive one. And even though there were a lot of difficulties in the climate of England, it was positive for me because I came to have my career. So I pulled through or pushed through and get that done. My first impression of coming to England was, I think, nearly like everybody else. When you come and see all of these houses with these the chimneys, we thought they were houses where they factories. Because back home, when we see things like that, or places like that, it was like when they were making sugarcane. The smog was there from the fire that was set to bring the sugarcane making into sugar. So that was what it looks like. I didn't have much of a problem with individuals as such. I think it's when I was doing my training that the situation changes. And it was with people, really. I remember doing medications to patients at the hospital, and a gentleman just said, "I don't want your black hands touch me," and things like that. And one of them slapped me. Fortunately, on that said day, the consultant was doing a round. It was a rehabilitation hospital at the time in Erdington. And this patient slapped me one, and the doctor came straight out and discharged him. When you look back, his condition had played a part in that because he had epilepsy, and they were saying these are some of the reactions that they had. But at the same time, it was because he was quite prejudiced, really, or racist, which of them we look at it. I acclimatized to it very, very easily, really. Yes, it was cold, but I think when you're determined to do something or to go some places, you've got to think that you've got to learn to cope with the environment where you are. Yes, it was cold, but I know I was here for a reason, so I sort of just pushed through. Get enough heat in the house to keep you warm. And wherever I was going, yes, the place was quite warm. So even though it was cold outside and you have to push through the weather, like the snow outside or the frost or whatever, you got to just prepare yourself for that. So I wear my gloves, I wear my scarf, I wear my headgear, I wear a boot. And so I make myself comfortable so that I can exist in the situation. Moving to this country, I think my worst experience is to see other people being disadvantaged, really, by others, by racism and so on. I'm not saying that people was racist to me, but I think I was in a position where I could answer back. If they say certain things to me, like example, the gentleman who I was going to give the medication to and he didn't really want it. If he didn't really want it, I just go and report it back to my seniors. And, they do what they have to do. But I did what I have to do. And I would answer back, really, if they start challenging me. Yes, I was able to stand up for myself, yes. My best experience is that even though things was difficult around with people and so on, because I want to be prosperous in my future, I struggled through and get my training done. And I did a second extension of the training from being a state enrolled nurse to a state registered nurse. So in all, my training took me 4.5 years. In terms of my future, no, my children are here and my grandchildren are here. I've got siblings in Jamaica, but I would prefer to just go and visit as often as I possibly can, but not to settle down back there. I would prefer stay here where my grandchildren and children are. I would not make a different decision. I was quite open when I applied to come here to do my training. I did that. I have my family here. I settled here, able to cope with things around me. I ask the right questions and insist on getting the right answers. So no, I wouldn't at this age go back to Jamaica because things has changed drastically in Jamaica. My parents have passed on. I still have brothers and sisters there that I constantly is in constant contact with daily, and I support them both financially and otherwise.